Hi, in this video, I'd like to demonstrate how you can move some of your content and material online from a residential class. So I'm going to try to keep things pretty simple and do what I would imagine is the simplest possible class. We're not going to do labs or extremely active engagement here, which you can do online, but we're going to try to demonstrate the most basic things here. And first, I'm going to focus on lectures, how to move lectures and assignment online. And in this short video, I'd like to first emphasize communication, how you can keep communicating well with your student. This is probably the most important part when the course is online. Then I'll show you how to create a lecture using Zoom. I'm currently doing this video in Zoom, and I'll show you a little bit how it works. Then I'll show you how to create a group activity using the assignment feature within Canvas, and I'll show you the peer review process, which allows a little bit of group work, which you might like. I'll also show you how you can just do a standard homework with the assignment, which may be your best bet for doing exams, actually, if you're a truly online course. And at the end, I'll finish with just showing you how to set up live Zoom session. The reason why I'm using Zoom is both because it's simple and because you can do two things with it. You can just record, like I'm doing right now, a video, or you can do a live session where people are coming. I remind you that I think Senate policy when we're moving courses online is you cannot expect students to be able to make the time they used to be able to do for your residential classes. This could be childcare or just maybe they're sick, obviously. So in this case, you should try to do lectures which are asynchronous, meaning that you really record your lecture, and they could be discussions, they could be interactions, but they should not be necessarily require the student to come at a specific time. Okay, so I'm doing this video on Zoom, and start with that. I'm currently sharing my screen, but I can stop sharing my screen, and then you're going to see that's me stopping to share my screen, and it's very easy to then share back my screen. And now I'm either in Word here, or here this is Canvas. When you're in the screen, you can annotate, and so I'm gonna use this course here, for example, so I'm annotating using Canvas. It's pretty nice. I can clear all my drawings, stop annotating. So there's a lot of nice feature with Zoom. Like I was saying, the first step is when you teach online is to have very good communication. And so the first thing you need to do is you need on Canvas, so this is Canvas here, psu.instructure.com. You need to go click your face and go in notification. And once you're there, you want to tell that to your students. You need both for you to do this, and your students are going to need to do this. They're going to need an email address here, and you need to tell them that that's the email address they need to be checking regularly. And then there's a slew of different possible way Canvas can send you a notification. It's pretty advanced. For an effective class, you only need two, in my opinion. There's two crucial ones. For an instructor, I would say you want them to notify me right away. For a student, they maybe can be okay with a send daily summary. But the one that are essential for good communication is the announcement. You want the announcement to be sent by email. And I would say the discussion too. The discussion posts, the discussion boards is where you're going to talk with your students. Asynchronously, back and forth, this is going to be happening here. You don't want to do just email because that's going to get very, very burdensome very quickly. So discussion is key, and I don't want the discussion itself, when the discussion is created, to receive an email, although that's not bad, but I usually don't put that on. I put that on X, but I put discussion post when somebody posts a question that I get an email. Your students should do this, and particularly many students don't know about any of this, and they don't know that they often will ask, well, I didn't see your announcement, and they don't even realize they're not getting an email. So you should make sure you get that. Okay, and then let's go and create a lecture. Well, actually, there's one more part of communication before. So I'm going to just take a course which is not published to just as my sandbox here. So I'm going to log into this course. So when you have a course and it's the first time you went to Canvas for your course, it's going to look like this, bunch of stuff you don't need. I'm going to just very quickly adjust the left sidebar by going to setting, navigation, and most of the stuff you don't need. I would keep just model, quizzes, but most people actually might not even use quizzes. So I'm just going to get rid of quizzes for now, but some of you will. Syllabus, you probably should keep it. Pages you don't need, people you don't need. Grade, discussion, assignment, announcement. And there we go. And there's one more that's pretty useful. And there's a Zoom tab right here, which you want to go and move up. Okay. And then you're good to go. Save. You can stop this video. I'm going to try to go fast and make it short, but if you need, you can see this recording. So this is my sidebar now. And I can go back home here and I have the things I need. There's always some that just never disappear, actually, even though I try to, they stay there. Okay, next thing is for discussion, for communication. Again, you don't want to do everything by email. So the first thing I would do in every class is to create a discussion board that I'm going to call the general. Q&A. Ask anything here. And so, and that's it. You can annotate replies. I like that, but otherwise save and publish, and that's created. And then what will happen, and I'm subscribed to it, and my notification is set up so that when somebody posts here, I get an email. This will be where all the communication will be. Hopefully, all the back and forth student asking something, like you would have in a real class. Somebody raised their hands. That's where this will happen. Okay, so it's pretty essential. In fact, if I get an email, this is what I would write to them. If they ask me a question by email, like, what are we going to do, with the assignment? I'm really worried about this or that. I say, thanks for this good question. To make communication more efficient in the online course, please post your question on this discussion board. And I would just give the link, and this is literally just the top link here, this line right here. Well, actually, it's a different one because I did this some other time, but it's just what you copy. And then I say your question, my answer will then benefit everyone. So essentially, instead of doing one-on-one email, this is kind of a class discussion so everyone can see the question and the answer. And I also then remind them that they should subscribe to this discussion board so that they see when somebody else asks a question, they get an email. So good communication is the first key step in having a good working online course. Because you're not seeing your student every day or every 2 days. You need to be able to communicate with them. They need to know you're available and that you're responsive. Okay. All right, so now let's create a lecture. So I'm creating a video in Zoom right now. I could give a lecture from PowerPoint. I could give a lecture, I could just talk. I could use an iPad, Doceri, and either with an iPad, often you can log in with the iPad to the Zoom page. So this Zoom has an ID address. So you can log in with the iPad and then you would appear as two names. You add your camera and then you have your iPad on the side and you can write on the iPad as you speak. What I use in my online courses, I've been doing this a little longer, is I use a document camera. And these are IPEVO cameras. They're not very expensive and they work great for me. In fact, my favorite one is the cheapest one. I've recently upgraded to the more expensive one and it works fine, but I actually prefer the cheaper one. And so what it looks like for me, for example, if I was to give a lecture, which would be a traditional Blackboard lecture and I don't have PowerPoints, then I would just use my document camera. I would speak and I would just do my equations here, blah, blah, blah. And it's just kind of live recording. And you can zoom in, you can change the ratio, you can practice for what is good. This is not even that strongly visible. Maybe it's a bit small. I can put this full screen. So I would have, you can try to make this better. There's no one size fit all here, but there's really a lot of possibility. And the idea is then you record and you're just in your Zoom. So what I did to do there, I should have said, is you just go to Zoom. We have Zoom at PSU, psu.zoom.us, and I just host a meeting. So you have to be the host in order to record. And once you're hosting the meeting, I just hit the record button. And now if I stop the record button, then this was all recorded. It goes into the cloud. And what happens is that Zoom sends you an email later on. And in the email, there's a link to your recording. So then what I can do is I can then create another discussion. So this is a recording. I'm not going to stop this one, but essentially imagine I open another Zoom and I did another recording. Then I can put the recording and make it available to my student. And I think, again, the discussion board is probably the best because it allows for feedback from the student. But I would say, so Monday, March 16, lecture 1 on friction. Here is the link, and then I would just post my link. So for example, this is an example of a link. Push enter, so then it's automatically a link. Please ask questions below. I'll trade replies, always nice, save and publish. And here's my lecture. And what's nice about a discussion board is that people can, go below here. So they would have to click on the link here. It's not embedded. If you want to do, you could do a YouTube video. The Zoom is actually an MPEG-4, so you could, do other things with it. But the simplest is just to have it like this. If you click on that, this is an example of a previous video I did, which is now appearing right here. What the student would see is something like this, and then they would see a recording of me, blah, 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 and then can do share. And I think, did I have my screen? No, I don't think I had for this one. So it's very quick, it's effective. You see my screen, blah, blah, blah. But also, if you put it in a discussion board, then the student can comment. I have a question. What did you say about max static friction? About blah, blah, blah. About so and so, etc. A student can put images. So Canvas has an embed image. That's pretty straightforward. It used to be complicated, but now actually it's pretty simple. You go in Canvas, it shows you your folder. The student will always use my files. You have course files you can use too, but you just check whatever folder you want, and then you can upload an image, or you can send it an image that's already there. So I uploaded this one, for example, earlier. I can just use it, update, and it just puts the image, which you can easily resize. It's actually a really big image I just put, so I can resize it and move it around. So it's pretty nice. Okay, you can also do equations. You have an equation editor. So when questions get precise here, I have an equation editor, and the equation editor has a simple layout, but if you're tech savvy, it does all the nice tech stuff. It has a switch view to advanced, and so you can really do LaTeX, and it works great. So with this, you can have a back and forth with your student like you would have in your lecture. So you're presenting, but there would be a back and forth. And again, it would be asynchronous. The student might see this at different time. So you have to check over a day or two to have the discussion. Okay. You can structure this a lot more. You can ask them specifically to reply. You can demand that they actually write something in the discussion board. You can give them task. There's a nice option, which I like to use when I teach online, which the user must post before seeing the replies. What this allows me to do, this option right here, it allows me to ask them a question. I say, everyone, you need to tell me what you think the answer to this question is. And they don't see any of the other students' answer. They have to first give their answer, and when they give it, then suddenly they can see everyone else. And then we can have a discussion all together. So this is, I think, a pretty powerful tool. The discussion board is a little hard to navigate. That's the problem. If you have a very large class, you may have to divide your class into different groups. Because if you have once you get 50 students or so that are posting and replying, this is not very well organized. That's the main flaw with the discussion board. But that would be essentially what I would consider the equivalent of a lecture. Pretty traditional lecture, nothing super fancy. I just gave a presentation and there was a back and forth. Often though, people want to do a bit more in their lectures. You may want to like to do some group activity. Maybe there was a problem that they were solving together as a group. You can still do this on Canvas. And here I would use assignment. You can use it as a discussion board. You can create a discussion board specifically where you, again, has people discuss discussion together. What do you think the answer is? That's feasible. Another thing you can do is an assignment. So let's say you have a worksheet you want them to work on, or you just have some questions you want them to write their opinion about. So you could say, this could be the lecture work group activity, lecture March 16 group activity. And you just give your instruction. do this. And the easiest often will be for students to upload. Most students have rarely seen problem with students even giving you just a picture of what their work is. They work on some piece of paper, they take a picture, they can upload the picture. It's not always great, but it works. So you can do that. Now, if you just give them an assignment like this, you're the only one who's going to be able to see what they give you. It's going to be individual assignment for each student, and you're the only one, or maybe teaching assistant if you have them, that will be able to see it. We can get group work and group impacts if you require peer reviews. You can manually assign the peer review, or the system can automatically assign peer reviews, and you can just decide how many peer reviews they get. So you're kind of deciding the size of the group. So for example, I could say each student will get to peer review 3 other students. So that will be group of 4. And you can decide when the reviews are assigned. Usually what you want to do is you want to say, everyone, please turn in your work by the end of the day, for example. And then you would tell them, if you have a good communication channel, remember your announcement and your general Q&A discussion board. So you have a good communication. What you tell them is, okay, so on March 17th, on Tuesday, please go and look at your peers' work in the peer review process. A lot of them, I was going to ask you, how do I do that? I'm going to show you quickly how it works. But you would put a due date. You don't want to close it necessarily. You might want them to resubmit after they receive feedback from their peers. But this is how you would do it. And I've just set up an assignment, do this. They have to do a file upload. So let me pretend I'm a student and I'm going to do this assignment. So I'm going to go in student view, so to pretend I'm a student. So I'm in this course. I see there are some discussions. So I see that there's the general Q&A, which I can ask general question, and there was the Monday lecture. And I see that there was some question in the Monday lecture. There was somebody that asked a question. I can see that. I also see that I have an assignment. In fact, that's in my, I don't even need to go there. I can, if I go home, I have an assignment and it's in my to-do list because I put a deadline. So you put a deadline to students, so it's in the to-do list. So I'm a student, I'm going to do it. It's on my to-do list. All right, and it says me to do something. I go ahead, I do it on my piece of paper, I take a picture and I submit. And I'm going to submit whatever. It's a download, desktop. Yeah, let's say I'm going to submit another image here. And submit it. And then at the end, now I'm not been assigned any peer reviews, but if I had been assigned peer reviews, when I go there, this is where the student could just click on the student's name and they would see their work. I can still see my own submission right now. And I can click view feedback and I see what my submission is like, okay? And I can do the same and look at my peers when I see my peers. And the peer review process is the idea is you can give feedbacks here. You can say good work. That's kind of a useless feedback, but I can say that. Nice though. But I can also say, why is block 2 bigger? Shouldn't they be the same mass? Shouldn't they, whatever, be the same mass? Okay, etc. So these are peer-reviewed feedback. Now I'm giving them to myself, but if there were many peers, I could give them to other students and other students give them to me. So this is a form of interaction, a sort of a work group activity, work together, working on one document. Now each student in this case is turning one individual assignment. Again, this is just a simple one. You can do group work using more fancier tool. You can use, like, for example, Google Doc to have people work together on some Word document, for example. But that's one example within Canvas that's a relatively, I think, straightforward to use. As the professor, you can also give feedback to students' work at the time they're working on it. For example, if I go to this group activity, I see first that I can assign peer reviews. I can see how the groups are. I can download the work, and I can go to Speed Grader. In Speed Grader, I see what the student turned, and here's their assignment, which was just an image, and I can go give them feedback. I can even give them feedback on the image. I can say, this mass is wrong, I don't know. I can write a comments here, blah, 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 submit. Okay. And I can do this for each of my, in this class I have 68 students, so this class actually has student in it, but, and so forth. Okay. Let me see. Group activity or homework. I'm not going to do this, but homework with assignment, essentially just don't do peer review. Then it's an homework. They turn in an homework and then you're going to have to grade it. And at this time, since the proctoring services might not be available for large residential classes, you may have to rely on different ways to assess your students. And take-home exams or lower stake exam with multiple steps may be the best way. So homeworks might be a good way to do assessment. So let me just finish there. Quizzes is the other thing that's important, and I'm not going to discuss it. It's pretty clear how to do it. The last part I want to discuss is Zoom. So you can do lecture video on this, but you can also hold office hours. And how you would want to do that is you would go here, you would schedule a new meeting on the Zoom tab. You can call it office hour. You can set a time, you can set blah, blah, blah. You usually don't want it to be a password, so you want to be able to come and just save. And you can have it this recurrent. And if I go to Zoom now, there's a meeting that's scheduled. The students will be able to see this. That's today at 2 p.m. There's office hours. And we can click on start. They can click on start, they can go there. I'll be the host. I can come late. They might, when I get to this meeting, there might already be student there. And this would be a live Zoom meeting. It looks very much like what I'm doing right now, but I would have more than one participant, more than just me. There'll be multiple people. They can use their mic, they can use their camera if they want to. So we can have live meetings just right here. And you can record every one of those meetings, and the recordings will always appear right here, and they will be dated. This is extremely powerful again, because many students won't be able to make the time of your live meetings. But if you record them, then they will be always available. You can have different things. So this is very popular, a very useful tool here with Zoom. Okay, I think this actually is pretty much would cover a really basic course, but you would have a lecture with the discussion board attached. You would have some assignment, which could have some group work or just be straight a homework that's coming to you. And you can have live meeting here with Zoom. Okay, I hope you found this useful.